You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey folks, welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about
how we game.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I know who I am.
Do you? Let everybody else know who you are.
I'm William.
That's William.
And today's guest of honor, hailing from Oregon, we got to meet him in St. Louis.
Yes, we did.
Our buddy and the brass shark himself.
Just reminded you of that. Yep.
Brass Birmingham shark himself.
Yep.
Chris
Scaffidi.
Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today on our call-in show, our live call-in show, where we take your phone calls live to talk about what you've been up to have conversations with you about what we've been up to, and hopefully take your questions about gaming design, gaming publishing, because we have Chris with us today, and Chris is working on publishing a game. Rob, you got the game up in front of you. What do you know about the game?
Tomten. Well, I can read you the description, but it's probably better actually if Chris gives us a little elevator pitch on it. I assume you're prepared to give us the quick, dirty version of what the game's all about?
Yeah, sure. This is a game about being a gnome at Christmas time, which is probably the best time of year to be a gnome if you think about it, because there's so much fun to be had with your fellow gnomes. It's a game with playing some cards, playing dice onto cards and collecting cards. It's a very bright and colorful game, and it moves fast. It's very friendly, and I think it's going to be extremely popular with people. Yeah. Especially around the holidays, but I enjoy playing it all year round. I think other people will too.
Awesome. And this game is setting up to go to Kickstarter, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So the publisher, Brains and Brawn, is going to launch it on Kickstarter beginning in February, and it should ship in time for Christmas next year.
Awesome. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I know we're coming up on Christmas this year, but that would be a pretty quick turnaround there, a small window to try to get it to people this year.
Santa does not move faster than the speed of light. No matter how fast technology progresses, he just hasn't mastered that one yet.
Absolutely, absolutely. But so, like I say, looking at a February, hopefully a Kickstarter for delivery before Christmas 2022. It feels weird to say that, but we're almost to 2022 already.
I can't wait.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Carlos.
I'm getting some feedback saying we're a bit laggy, so I'm going to...
Here has a collection of dice and other resources. So on your turn, you place some of your resources onto a task, and when the card is complete, there's some rewards. Fairly standard contracts, except that each card has two tasks, and different players could complete different tasks. So there's a reward for whoever does the top task, a reward for whoever does the bottom task. The reward for doing the bottom task is to collect the card, and the reward for the top task is an immediate reward, whether it's some points or some resources. Now, after you collect the card, then you place it into a tableau, and that gives you ongoing benefits throughout the game, as well as bonus points later in the game. And then if you're running out of resources, you can do what's called resting. There's Swedish words for all of this, but it's basically you work or you rest on your turn. And when you rest, you recover some of your resources. And that's the game. You have, I think it's 44 days to spend during this holiday season, and that's one of your resources. And when everybody's done with that, the game is over.
Well, 44 days to get ready for Christmas. That's pretty optimistic. I think a lot of people are scrambling there the week before. I know I am, usually trying to get everything done for Christmas.
That's usually my style. I'm the guy.
Last-minute guy.
Yeah,
I haven't bought a thing.
Yeah, I haven't.
Well, the gnomes are like that too. Fortunately, they start preparations in December 1st, but in Sweden, the holiday season runs all the way to January 13th.
Wow, okay.
So when you think about the 12 days of Christmas, technically that starts on Christmas.
No, Chris,
and the 12 days of Christmas
you're right.
are the following 12.
It's the same way in Puerto Rico. Most of our celebration is done after Christmas.
After Christmas, huh?
We have the three, like you, Rob, when you walk in my house, you see the Three Kings banner outside my house. We celebrate, what I guess the Greek Orthodox would call Epiphany.
Okay.
We call it Three Kings Day or Dia de los Reyes. And that's when we celebrate gift giving, because that's the day Jesus got presents. He didn't get them on his day of birth.
Oh.
He got them later.
Nobody likes to wait for presents. Come on.
Do you really think where I
Yeah,
grew
so
up,
in the
I
game,
believe that some fat white guy was going to come to my house and drop off
American,
presents?
we get it on that day.
I didn't grow up believing
Big
that.
jolly white guy, yeah.
Not in my house.
Oh.
Sorry, Chris. Phone lines open, folks. 813-618-7099 is the number. Call in if you have questions about game design for Chris. You want to talk about games that you've been playing for the holiday season. What did y'all play over Thanksgiving, or what do you plan on getting for Christmas? These are all conversations we can have. Give us a call. And Chris, continue with the Tomten.
Yeah, I guess give us a little bit about the player count, how long the game is.
Oh, well, so most of my games run about an hour. Some of them are a little shorter, some are a little longer. Obviously, when people are playing for the first time, they'll take a little bit longer.
Oh, we got a call coming in.
I'm going to hold you up. We got a caller coming.
1 to 4 players.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
That is Mitchell from Louisiana. Hey, guys.
Hey, Mitchell, how are you?
Hey, Mitch. We got Chris Scaffidi on the line with us today, game designer and working on a Kickstarter. So if you have any game design questions, feel free and ask him as well.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, actually, Chris. Well, 2 questions. So, first of all, you mentioned, most of your games are a certain way. So, what are some of the designs so I can look them up?
Is that what's going on?
Yep, we got a call from Chris with questions.
Can you not hear Mitchell? Says like he can't hear Mitchell.
I can't hear Mitchell.
Let's, Carlos, Paul, bear with us for 1 second, Mitchell. We got to
make sure we get Chris on.
Yeah, I can't hear anything from him.
But you can hear us, right?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
You could just pass on the message if you'd like.
The question?
Yeah, repeat back the question.
Okay.
So my question was, first of all, what are the names of his other games that he's released? He mentioned some other ones. I'd like to look them up.
Mitchell says he'd like to look into some of other games that you've worked on or that you've created, and he was wondering about past stuff that you've done.
Okay. So this is the first game I have that's published. Previous to this, I worked on several games. There were very strong Take That games.
Oh, hey, Chris, put your face up on the screen. We've got your desktop. And I think, Mitchell, if you're there, let me know.
What's going on. All right.
I'm here.
All right.
Hi, I can hear you now.
Hey, I fixed it.
Awesome.
Okay,
There you go.
Great.
I can keep my
So
job.
this is the first game I have that's published. The previous games, I had a few Take That games. I don't know. I think Take That has kind of gone a little bit out of vogue with many of the publishers.
Sure.
So, of course, there's still a lot of people in America who love Take That games. It's just not Euro style, and a lot of publishers are gravitating to Euro style. So,
Yep.
I also did develop one where the players had a shared adversary. It was not cooperative. They basically were competing to see who could do the most harm to their shared adversary. Then there's this game. Another game that I've worked on is called Emblem. It's a lightweight to medium weight civilization builder with magic. And you could kind of think of it as something of a Settlers of Catan, but with magic, and so a little bit more complexity and a little more weight, but not as heavy as some of the other civilization builders that will come to your mind. And then the one I'm working on right now that is kind of like at the earliest stages is called Restaurant Warriors, and I'm doing that for another publisher. And this is a game where you play cards, and it's a 2-person game. The other player plays cards, and as you play cards, the other person gets to pick up the cards that you play and then use them to try and score points. It's actually a very Euro style. It's not aggressive at all, and it's a very fast one.
Cool.
So those are just a few. I have others too.
What's that?
I have a few others too, but I'll take whatever comments or questions you have. I'd like to hear from you.
Well, yeah, so I was just curious about that, first of all, and then about Tomten specifically. So whenever you said like a Christmas game, my initial thought was, I don't know, and I could be just blanking. I can't think of any other games that I've played that are tied specifically to a holiday. Are you not concerned that maybe this would make people only want to play it, say, at certain times of the year? Or are there other games like this that I'm not thinking of?
No, there are really not very many games that are holiday specific. And I think it's a whole genre that hasn't been explored. I suspect that a game that's very holiday specific and actually fun and intellectually challenging to play will become an old standby, and it'll get dragged out year after year after year after year. And you may find that it becomes a perennial seller for decades. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. A good point. So, Carlos and Rob, did you guys play this game at Design Day? Is that how you met at Design Day?
We haven't. We played a couple of other games. We actually we were in a play test of another game that another new designer. Carlos, that steel trap memory here. What was the name of that young man that we played with? He was right out of college. I remembered.
Oh God, I have to go through my notebook.
Oh yeah. I don't know if Chris remembers either. But we played that one was based on book collections, and we were collecting and buying and selling groups of books. I'm stalling for time here for Carlos.
It's not in this notebook.
I apologize to the game.
But and that's how we met Chris.
Yep.
Chris was one of the other play testers.
Yep.
And I think we played in 2 different games with Chris. And then after we did our work for the day of playtesting games, Chris and Rob and I met up and we played other games.
We got a game of Wingspan, I believe it was. Yeah.
We got some Wingspan in. We hung out. We ate together.
Yeah.
Had a great time.
It was a good time, yeah.
So Thompson was not a game that was being play tested at Design Day?
No, he introduced me to a different game that he was working on that was more of a Stonemaier style that he was working on. But Tomten was new to me as of our conversations we've been having since then. Him and I have been conversing through email. Tomten is how I got introduced to that over that time frame.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Design Day is for games that are fairly kind of in the middle of the design process. They're past the very early stages where something maybe isn't working very well, but they aren't yet to the point where they've been signed by publishers necessarily. I suppose some of them were really good though and could have been signed, and I just didn't know about it. But
yeah, I don't know if we mentioned
none of them were late stage prototypes, and Tomten had already been signed for 6 or 7 months by the time.
I think Jamie says he
around.
doesn't want to see games at that stage. He wants games where the decisions and the feedback you receive at Design Day can actually be implemented. Like you're not so far late in it.
Right. I was just going to mention, I don't know if we said specifically, but this was the Stonemaier Design Day in September that Carlos and I were invited out to by Jimmy Stegmaier. We had a great time out there and then got to meet a lot of people, but there was a lot of that. I think most of the people that were there were game designers, at least probably half the people that were there are game designers. Many of them showing off games. We're talking to other designers about games that they were working on. Carlos and I were just a part of a handful of
media type
that Jamie invited out. He said that was the first time actually he'd ever done that. Usually it's pretty much exclusively game designers and then close friends of Stonemaier games. So we felt privileged to be out there. It was really cool. And he said we would be happy to have us out again. So we're looking forward to maybe going next year. But yeah, we got to meet lots of great people. We got to meet a couple other media types out there and then got to meet a lot of designers. So it was a really good time.
Cool. Yeah, well, I think that was all the questions I had about the game.
Awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to touch base with us on?
I'll mention one thing. I did a lot of gaming over Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. Of course.
And I'm sure we have plenty of more weeks for you to talk about all those games. But a while back, I'd reported in that I'd played Dinosaur World, and I really didn't like it.
I remember that.
Yep.
Well, over Thanksgiving, I played Dinosaur Island Rollin' Right. And we've also had discussions about how I didn't do a whole lot of flipping rights, rolling right.
Yep.
So I think this is officially my first rolling right because I played Cartographers as a flip and fill, and I really enjoyed it. So I don't think you guys haven't played Dinosaur Island Rolling Right.
We haven't. Lots of people in our game group have played it, and they've been talking about it. And I think we may get an opportunity to play it at our game day this weekend. But
how would you rate it?
Yeah, how was it?
I really enjoyed it. My buddy who taught it to me, I was raving about it, and he sent me a text, I think it was yesterday. It was on sale for like $15 on Tabletop Merchant, I think was the website.
Okay.
So I was like, I can't pass that up. A good game, and but it's so much more than just a roll and write. I haven't played a lot of roll and writes, like I said, but so it's weird for me to be saying that. But from what I know of roll and writes, it's so much more. It's like it's engine building as well. It's not just like you're filling in this sheet, it's you're giving a tour in a sequential order, and you want it to be exciting, kind of like the Dinosaur Island franchise. So highly recommend it for you guys that like the flip and fill roll and write game.
And we do.
Yeah, we'll try to get that in. Like I say, I know just in the last few weeks, 3 or 4 different people in our game group here in Tampa have been posting stuff that they've had.
It's probably already at your turn. We're going to be doing your turn this weekend for the game day. So I'm going to take your advice, and we will come back to you next show.
Yeah, try to report
to give you our rating on it. And I think the 3 of us will do like we did this past Thanksgiving, where we rated 37 games in a row. We'll make that 38 next week.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. Well, you guys have a good show. Thanks for the call.
All right, thanks, Mitchell.
Mitch. Good night.
Thank you for calling.
All right. Good night.
Hey, Chris, I want to touch on what Mitchell was talking about with regards to the Christmas theme, right? Because I thought about that when I first heard. Oh, I'm sorry, folks. By the way, phone lines open 813-618-7099. Give us a ring if you want to ask questions to Chris or any of us about game design to Chris, and then for us, we can talk about just like random gameplay. That's what we do. But regarding the Christmas theme, Chris, I don't think you're wrong in your thought process on it. As an example, each Christmas I bust out Christmas Patchwork. Why? Because it's like one of the few games that I like that has a Christmas theme.
Sure.
Right? It's not one of my favorite games, but it's a good-ish game, but a Christmas theme. So I currently have it out on the barrel, available to play or teach to anyone.
Anybody who drops by, yeah.
So that's a great marketing idea, is to, like you said, make it an evergreen, a title that continually comes out year after year, when, as we know, 7,000 titles coming out a year now?
Something like that.
How many get forgotten to never be seen again? Right? Every Christmas or every Halloween, what do I bring out? Like Betrayal, right? I'm going to bust out Betrayal. Why? Because it's scary themes, right? I'm going to bust out, what's that? Winter. What's the winter one? It's up there, Robert. The zombie one.
Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter. Okay,
right?
there you go.
Because it's around that Halloween time. That, you know, that zombie side comes out.
Horrified will be a new one. I know that's a newer game, but a lot of people are saying that that's going to be a classic, soon to be a classic Halloween type game. Huh?
The time of the season comes out.
Yeah.
That game comes top of mind.
Halloween is easy to do.
Yeah, and I think Mitchell's question, and this may be obvious, but I think his question was more about what about when it's not Christmas? Is this a game that you'd be a little concerned that people will put away and only pull out at Christmas?
No.
So
I don't.
Do you think that's a bad thing?
I mean, no, I play so many games, don't you? I mean, I have no right to expect that Tomten is the sole thing on somebody's table.
Hey, we got another call coming in, I believe.
Gamers don't care. Gamers will play anything.
City I've ever seen
anytime.
before, Robert. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, yeah, this is Frenchie LaRue from
Hey,
Colorado.
Frenchie, how are you?
Hello, Frenchie.
I'm good. How you doing?
We are well. Frenchie is a first-time caller. We did not get the opportunity to meet Frenchie at Dice Tower Retreat.
I've seen him in the chat a lot.
Yes, he's in the Dice Tower Retreat chat.
Chat, yeah.
So we just kind of like went back and forth, like past each other, like ships in the night.
There you go, yeah.
But I told Frenchie on the
Exactly.
chat, just call in and introduce yourself. Thanks for calling, Frenchie.
He wasn't at the retreat.
He was
He
at
was
the
at the retreat. Yeah, he was at the retreat.
We just didn't get to meet him in person.
We just didn't play with him.
Oh, okay.
Didn't
Well,
talk
I
to him.
apologize because I was a goofball there.
Yeah.
I was a big goofball there.
Well, we, as our normal format for the show, Frenchie, we're willing to talk about whatever you've been playing, whatever you've been up to. Although tonight we do have a special guest. We have Chris, a game designer, working on. Is this your first solo game, Chris?
The first game that can be played solo, or the first one I've designed
for you,
solo?
I'm sorry, design solo.
Yeah, this is the first one that I designed on my own.
Okay. But Frenchie, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I'll ask Chris a question. So, Chris, who's been influential in your design process here?
Great question.
What are some of the designers that have most influenced you to this point?
By far, Jamie Stegmaier. He eclipses everybody else put together. And I think a big part of it is because I gravitate toward games that are very fast and have satisfying art. Every single one of Stonemeier's games meet those criteria. Of course, you may take a different interest depending on the theme, but I just enjoy the kinds of games that they make. The other really big factor is that Jamie explains what's going on in his head. He doesn't just dump a game out to the public and say, love me. He explains like what he was thinking. He breaks it down, and in the design diaries, you can actually trace some of the decisions and maybe what he's learned over time, actually, things that he wouldn't do now or things that he learned from that worked really well and he's then copied and done later.
So he's transparent.
Yeah, he's just like absolutely transparent. And I go back to his design videos over and over and over again. He has had these Sunday sit down videos going back several years. He doesn't make a ton of them
back in the
anymore.
day.
Yeah. He's a great teacher. He's also a really great person.
Yeah, he's a
so
nice
I can
guy.
respect him as a person.
Agreed.
I don't have to feel guilty that I'm learning from him.
Have you had a chance, Frenchie, to ever meet Mr. Stegmaier? Jamie.
Mr. Stegmaier's his dad.
Yeah. You gotta raise your hand. Yeah, Mr. Stegmaier. How was your wingspan game?
I have not. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, really nice guy. I know Carlos and I were really impressed when we got to meet him the first time. He's very, very down to earth, and I don't know. I mean, I guess we get a little fanboy in the or at least I do a little bit.
No, you guys both.
No,
do.
if you go back,
no. They
I'm
both.
not that.
No. I'm not because I'm
I'm telling you,
but
William.
I'm
I'm telling you. Go back and watch the episode. The first time Jamie called into our show, we stuttered and stammered like a bunch of schoolgirls.
This is what happened. You had the SM symbols coming right in both of your eyes and go, Stonemaier Games.
I was all like, Mr. Stonemaier.
Couldn't believe it was him for
blink, 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 blink.
Couldn't believe it was him for a minute. But
And then he started giving you, and then he started mailing games to you, and you just were just like.
No, he's a great game designer.
yeah, he's a really nice guy.
He's a great designer.
Frenchie, what have you been up to? I've been watching your videos. I saw your most recent episode that you posted.
Yeah,
up.
I watched it.
What do you got going on your show?
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So getting ready for putting out another podcast on Monday and a review of Dark Ages. We played that at the Dice Tower Retreat and getting ready to put that out. And met a couple guys in Orlando who we actually were able to do that virtually over the weekend. So that'll be coming out very soon.
Awesome. Well, give us a quick plug for your site. Where can people find you and look up your content?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, Frenchie Plays Games on YouTube, and then follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And don't want to steal your guys' thunder. Really happy to finally connect, and appreciate you guys in the short time that I've been aware of you. Wish we could have met at Dice Tower Retreat, but the next time's coming around the corner. Yeah,
we'll have to do it. We've that was our first retreat. We've been to the Dice Tower, now Dice Tower East, but back in the day, it was just the Dice Tower convention.
How did we miss him?
In Orlando.
We were in that room for like
I saw him around.
A lot.
Yeah, I saw him. We just never.
I would say the majority of our group, there was someone there.
That's our fault that we didn't go and introduce ourselves. And
well, we were new to it. There's
already
and Chris, you'll see that at the Dice Tower Retreat, there's a lot of established groups that have been going for years together, kind of meeting up and playing games together. So we kind of felt out of place. We brought our own group and we really stuck to ourselves, which I do regret that now. We should have spread out more.
Met some people.
You guys did not do what I told you to do, which is leave and play a game with random folks.
I cannot disagree.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I always do. I go to a table like, I don't know who you all are, but can I play a game with you?
Yeah.
Sure. And then you're just, at least one.
Well, see, you're I'm a wallflower. You're an outgoing guy, and that's easy for you.
I'm not afraid to make a fool of myself, because that's the whole point.
Hey, Frenchie, I want to say something. In watching your video, I actually have a snagget somewhere, a snippet of your background. Brother, I got to say, the games that you have behind you, you're like a gamer after my own heart. Like a lot of the games that you have behind you are games that I have behind me. Like, I think we would be in the same game group if we lived locally to each other. So, mad props on your game selection.
Appreciate that, Carlos. I know you're a big fan of Clash of Cultures, and sorry, Rob.
I know that one was a little rough, but
Well, Frenchie, take care, man. Thank you for introducing yourself. Don't make it the last time you call in. And I look forward to doing something together.
Yeah, working together,
collaborating on something.
Are you going to Dice Tower?
Well, that's where I was kind of headed. This was our first time because we, in Tampa, Orlando is only about an hour away. We have been aware, we've talked about in the past, that the retreats goes on down there in Miami, and I know they're returning to Miami next year. But Carlos and I have already started talking about that we're gonna try to get in. From what I understand, once you've been to one retreat, you're usually on the front of the list to be invited to future retreats. And so if we get that opportunity next year,
I'm still in the idea of going to Dice Tower West for myself.
Oh yeah, I know William's trying to head out to the West sometimes. Yeah, but
we'll let you guys know how that is.
But we'll definitely, if you're going to be at the next retreat, I think there's a good chance we'll be there, so we can definitely try to make something happen there.
Absolutely. I'm planning to be in at the retreat. Definitely will be at Dice Tower West. So, William, if you're going to be there, or anybody else, I look forward to meeting you.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I got the luxury of having friends that live out there and friends who actually work in the casino industry. So
I was worried about where you're going with that.
Work out there. Yeah.
No, I got a friend who works for the Luxor.
Okay.
And he does all the lighting and stage design for all the shows out there.
Cool.
So,
hey, Frenchie, I got a ton of newsboy style hats I can send with William, so he can wear one with you.
There you go.
Sure.
Perfect.
So,
thanks for calling in. Have a good evening.
Guys, take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
That was Frenchie, and he's Rob, what was the site? Help me out here.
His site?
YouTube.
Frenchie Plays Games.
Frenchie Plays Games. There you go. Yeah.
Wow, there goes that steel trap.
There, yep.
That steel trap.
Slipping right in and
Collapsed.
slipping right out. But
Hey,
Frenchie Plays Game on YouTube. So
he didn't write it down. That's why.
yeah, I went back and watched a couple of
Write
his
it down.
episodes. So
There you go.
I can't remember what episode he was on, but he's got a channel that's been going for a little bit. So yeah.
Well, Frenchie had a good question for Chris. We talked about asking what designers inspired him. Chris, when it comes to Tomten, what games inspired you on those mechanisms?
So I actually didn't start from the mechanisms.
Okay.
I started from the theme. We mentioned previously that I had a few other games, and I pitched them to various publishers, and some of them took some interest, but then it kind of fizzled. So I decided I needed to design games that if I had to, I could publish myself, because it's just, the odds are against you with publishing your first game. There's just so many designers and so few publishers. And so I started by looking for art, actually, because one of the big pieces of value that publishers bring to the table is that they contract with an artist and bring that together. So I'm not an artist by training, and I knew I would need to start with some public domain art. And that's what led me to public domain content, such as this work by Jenny Nystrom. She lived in the 1800s and very early 1900s, and her art went public domain in the United States and Europe about a few years ago. And I think that's part of why there's been this huge surge of interest in gnome-related culture in the past few years, is because I think people can start taking her work and repurposing it. So she did a lot of these beautiful Christmas cards.
If you've got them, throw them up on your desktop big and share that desktop, because I'm having trouble pulling up the link on my computer. I know you sent me some of the photos. Here.
So which one is it? Okay,
that's a great idea, going with the public domain artwork.
Yeah. So this is a website, probably one of the first ones I saw that mentioned Jenny Nystrom's work was going public domain.
Two of them, maybe.
And you could see some of these screenshots that she's got of her cards that she scanned. And a lot of it is really grainy. You can see there's some defects here. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are much less good. And so I knew I was going to have quite a bit of work to do in terms of cleaning it up. So here's one of those cards that she had.
I can't help myself.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we just found a way to blow it up, so we got it big on the screen here now. Yep.
And that's all
great.
public domain at this point?
Yeah, except in a few countries, of which probably the most significant market is Mexico. So I've warned the publisher, don't try selling in Mexico. But
what?
Yeah, in most places, it's public domain 70 years
I feel like I've seen these before.
Yeah, they seem really familiar. Yeah.
I know.
Probably see them during the holidays.
A lot of people are adapting them, or adapting some of the content as, they may use it as a reference in drawing their own gnomes. So I had to clean up a lot of this stuff, and I went in, and you can see here, I went in and adjusted a lot of the colors. Some of them I had to completely repaint from scratch using hers as a reference. Others were pretty good condition.
Let me clarify. Let me better understand. When you say adapt, so once it becomes public domain, what can you do to it? Or maybe what can't you do to it? How can you use it for you or make it for you? What have you learned?
So I don't understand that there's anything you can't do with something that's public domain. So if you create something that is intentionally identical or indistinguishable from the original, then I don't think you get to have a copyright on that. But if you try to make something that's distinct and new using something that previously existed in the public domain, then you could potentially copyright the new thing.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, you take a rock off of the street and you draw a picture with it. You're not copyrighting the rock. You're copyrighting the new thing that you're creating with the existing thing that already was in the public domain. So it's, anybody can go and grab rocks
Yeah.
That's an awesome parallel because it made it really easy to understand. Once it's public domain, it's out there. It's available for me to draw or take a picture of it and use it in any way I want to. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's on the publisher, and he's done the legal research to figure out where the boundaries. He actually has looked carefully into the extent to which he can even use Jenny Nystrom's name to promote the game. I personally don't really use it. I tend to focus more on the fact that I adapted it and try to focus on the new thing that I contributed, which is, of course, the game.
Yeah, makes sense.
No, but that's an awesome segment of our conversation.
Yeah.
For people who are interested in game design. Like, that's something I would have never thought of, public is to domain. Find things that are, not copyrighted, not something that's prohibited, and actually be able to use that to start off to as a launching pad for my artwork. I remember when we were at Design Day, there were games where I would ask questions like, can I take pictures of your game?
Sure, yeah.
And some folks said, hey, I don't own any of this artwork, so let's not.
Yeah.
Right. Let's not do that.
In a lot of cases, people will just take art that is not in the public domain and use it as placeholder images. And I don't know, I don't do that unless if it's explicitly licensed with Creative Commons or something, so I can trace back exactly where every image came from. Now, Jenny Nystrom had a son named Kurt, and he did some art who's pretty similar to this. So I had to also go through every single image and meticulously check the signature in the original to make sure like his stuff is not in the public domain. So I actually had to keep track of the originals so that I can document exactly where every piece came from.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it's important to respect the art that people have done. And also, if you're going to go and use public domain art, you need to be respectful to the source material too. So I tried to be respectful of exactly how these gnomes were behaving. I didn't substantively make any of the gnomes do something that would seem out of character with what a gnome would do. I think that part of this is just being faithful from an artistic standpoint, because there's a lot of value to the art. And I think part of it is also being respectful to the culture that's grown up around those gnomes, both the one that we're familiar with in the United States and Europe, where the gnomes have been kind of commercialized, but they still retain that jolly friendliness. But also, we have to keep in mind that gnomes are an important part of a Swedish culture too.
Yeah.
They call them Tomten, which translates actually closer to trolls than to gnomes, but we call them gnomes in most other countries, I guess. And they wouldn't want their trolls doing inappropriate things, so I had to be respectful of that. And then it's actually from the theme that I derived the mechanics. So the gnomes are super friendly. Okay, these guys are like really jolly. They're always having parties. They care about being cozy with their friends. And they also have lots of animals. They are friends with so many animals in this art, especially pigs, but also bears and squirrels and birds and dogs and horses. And there's cultural stuff related to this in Sweden. So from that, I got the mechanics. So from that, for instance, getting all these tasks done for Christmas, that's where I got the idea of bringing in the time track mechanic.
So on the topic of gnomes and their culture, Mitchell asked a question. Yeah. He wants to know, when we say gnomes, are these elves or something different? Never heard of Christmas gnomes.
These are in the chat, just so you know. I know you say you didn't hear the question, but yeah, that's...
So Mitchell was asking that in the chat.
Oh, okay. So Christmas elves and Christmas gnomes are kind of different things. Sweden has this super long tradition of small magical beings who help out around the farm. And actually many Western cultures, pretty much all cultures.
So they're not tied to just Christmas.
No.
See, okay, there you go.
Jenny Nystrom helped tie them to Christmas when she did an illustration of a poem book that was written in the late 1800s. And so the association between Christmas and trolls, gnomes, grew stronger in Sweden around 1900. And then in parallel, there was this notion of Santa Claus as a big elf. And he made his appearance also in the 1800s in the United States in a poem about Saint Nick. the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
Right,
Sure.
because I read it to my
So-
kids each year, and it talks about him being a jolly good elf
Right.
or jolly old elf.
Exactly. Disney brought these two together around the Depression. I think it was 1932, but don't quote me on that. Of course, this is being recorded. And
Don't worry about it.
you know, they made this video, this movie about Santa's workshop, and it had all of these gnome-like characters who helped out Santa in his workshop, and that brought together this notion of all these squat magical assistants with the big guy, and then now I guess that's where we get our modern notion in the West of Santa Claus in the North Pole.
Oh, wow. Educational.
He's researched.
Oh yeah,
his
a little bit,
topic.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Well, no, he proves a point.
Yeah.
He just doesn't create a game just to create a game.
Yeah.
You have you have to do some research on whatever you're making. If you're making a game on a historical war game, just don't make it based on something you read at Wikipedia. You know, you got to go
Take the
to
time,
You
do
got
the
to go to the
work, yeah.
library, get some books, check
Yeah.
some stuff out, read some material.
Yeah.
Maybe even take a couple of classes and courses, and then you get the source material for a war game. He did the same thing for the gnomes. He obviously knew the source material way more than I ever know, because I didn't know anything about this stuff.
Yeah.
So hey, we
Got
a
another
phone call
caller coming in.
Oh, I just had a comment from Chris too. Beans and Dice podcast. State your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, yeah, this is Ryanmatic from Tampa, Florida.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey,
How you doing, guys? How you guys doing, guys?
Doing
Good.
well.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask. I just heard. I'm watching right now, and I was just wondering: is the board game that Chris made? Is that is the theme kind of similar to like what the Icelandic tradition of the Yule Lads is kind of about? Like,
little
does he have
bit,
any
yeah.
like thing about that?
Yeah, so a lot of these, Iceland and the other Scandinavian countries shared this notion of these little helpful elves or trolls. They call them different things. Like I've heard the name Nisse or Nisse being used. I think that's what they call them in Finland. But there's a lot of shared culture among the Scandinavian countries. And it's not surprising. They shared some of the rulers over the past 1,000 years, a little more than 1,000 years. They've had some rulers in common, and their flags are similar for reasons. So there's a lot of overlap among these different Scandinavian countries.
I feel like I'm in a history class.
No, I'm digging all
I'm
this.
digging it. This is fun. Yeah. This is
The world is just like an intensely interesting place.
yeah.
And like, there are so many untapped topics that have not yet been brought out as themes in board games.
Which is why
And when
board
you're a
games will-
designer, like, what's that?
which why board games will it's one of those things. People's like, how many games can there be of certain topics?
Trading in the Mediterranean.
There's just endless stuff.
Yeah. Countless
Well,
possibilities.
if you're willing to research,
Yeah.
dig out and try to
You-
flesh out different
You also
things.
throw
Go ahead.
you also throw maybe a different theme on it. Like maybe this is more of a like the Yule Lads are in this case. They're not more of a helper. I've done a little bit of research on the Yule Lads specifically from Iceland, but they're more like tricksy kind of like little gnome
Mischievous.
people.
Ah.
Like yeah, they're mischievous. So kind of like maybe go, hey, I'm trying to protect my land from the Yule Lads because some of them are called like sausage swiper or like Skyer gobbler, which is like a porridge that they eat, and like you put it in a freezer, and they'll go in and try and take your Skyer.
Ryan, I'm not surprised you know these things. So Ryan and I play together in the Blood Bowl League. While I have Ryan on the phone here, I want to give him mad props because although I went into the playoffs for this Blood Bowl season as I think the third highest ranked player in the league.
Is this going to get sad?
And yes, it is real
Okay.
fast. In the first round of the playoffs, Ryan, who went in as the bottom player going into the playoffs, took me out in round
Lowest
one.
wild card.
Hey, you know what? Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Freed up
appreciate
some
it.
of his time here.
Yes. Yeah, great job. Good job.
Ryan, how far did you go into the
Please
playoffs
go,
after
please
that?
Go. I lost the next game.
Oh,
Of course.
even
He was set
better.
up just to beat you.
Yes.
That's what it was all about.
I'm just going to stick around and
Okay, look,
stick
it
it
was
to Carlos.
Jim and his Skaven. It was
Yeah.
Jim and his Skaven.
And I think Jim ended
I
up
can't
losing.
fight that.
Jim ended up losing to Chris for the championship, if I'm right. I've been following.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great season, man. And now, see, I was wondering, because you create so much theme and story for your Blood Bowl teams, and I'm not surprised to hear about the research you've been doing, because I'm sure that is influencing the history and the narrative that you add to your teams. Am I wrong?
No, you are not wrong at all.
That's awesome.
I love deep diving into just fun little topics here and there, pulling new things to create really just fun things in my hobby. Like my first Blood Bowl team was the Necromantic, which is basically just all undead and like werewolves, and I named them after famous celebrities.
Nice.
And I deep dive into like all their little personal backgrounds. So it was utterly tasteless, but God, it was so much fun to like do
not as
research
bad
on everybody.
You're not as bad as someone I played Kill Team with, and he had Plague Marines. And he named his Plague Marines after each disease that was brought over by the Colonials.
Oh, wow. That's going deep.
Oh,
yeah.
And I was just like, dude, I don't feel comfortable playing against you, man.
Wow.
Well, Ryan, thank you
I
so
would
much,
feel
man.
vindicated.
I killed him. I whooped up on him bad, but it was just, I was
Good.
like, man.
Now, Ryan had a team of Imperial nobility, and he named each one after a different pope. Each player in the Imperial, because they had the Italian, what's the name of the guards for the Pope? I can't remember anymore at the Vatican. But they kind of had that look to them, and each one had a Pope's name. But Ryan, I'm so glad to hear
were
that
all
having
thinking
Chris
camp.
on today let you talk about and ask questions about a topic that you've enjoyed.
Yeah.
That's what I love
That's
doing
cool.
with this show, is
Yeah.
it's having different topics that really touch to different people.
And going places we don't know where we're going to go.
We
but
have
it's,
no idea where we're going.
We just open the door.
Just
And
buckle up. Let's go.
it happens. Yeah.
Thanks for calling, Chris, man. Have a good night.
No problem. You guys have a good night.
You too. Thanks.
Well, Mitch is
So I'll
chiming
just
in.
quickly,
So.
can I comment on
Oh,
something?
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So the in folklore, the Tomten actually are more like the Yule lads in terms of being a little tricksy. So if you disrespect a Tomten, he might tie your horses, or if you don't put out his porridge, he might tie your horse's hair, for instance, into a knot, or do something mean like that.
Okay.
But I couldn't find any trace of that meanness in more modern Swedish descriptions of the trolls, the gnomes. So, you know, I'm not disputing that it's present in the Icelandic still. I haven't looked into that very much, but that's part of why there's no mean mechanics at all in Tomten. It's because these guys seem to be completely friendly characters.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that the game is very, very friendly. So that was it sounds like that was a point for you, is to definitely not have any of that backstabby type stuff in the
Yeah.
game.
That's right. So it shows up in two ways mechanically in the game. One is that you have these task cards where two different people who are competing against each other, or if you're in team mode, they could be on the same team, work on this task card together, and then they each split the rewards. The other place where it shows up is on the time track. As you're moving through, if your marker meets with another marker on the same day, then you give the other player a friendly hug in the game, and they get to have a little bonus.
Okay.
And that bonus varies depending on the
I'm
game.
not hugging you, Carlos.
Oh, we all hug.
No.
That kind of reminds me of My Little Scythe.
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Where you when
know.
you place the gem or the
Resources,
apple
yeah.
into a space of an opponent, you get
Right,
friendship
you
on the
both get a
friendship
little
track.
Friendship points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very
exactly.
Stonemaierish, the positive player experiences.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm totally about the positive player interaction, especially indirect benefits. I love that part.
Cool. Well, that's neat. Yeah.
That was just so. I know Ryan, and Ryan's only called in maybe once or twice ever.
Yeah.
But for him to be like keyed into that topic,
Yeah.
that feels
struck
good.
a nerve.
That feels
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, Chris, you it sounds like you've got an audience out there that may understand me coming from Puerto Rico, and like your theme doesn't make any sense to me. I've never heard of it, never knew about it.
He's just not.
The only gnomes I know of are the Expedia. Is it Expedia? Is it,
Expedia commercials.
Travelocity.
Travelocity.
commercials. There you go. Yeah. There it is.
So he's a
Wow,
garden gnome.
That's a
though.
garden gnome.
That's a
dude.
garden gnome. That's a little.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
There is a difference, yes. And I know this,
So-
and I'm Puerto Rican.
Listen, I'm sure he would say the garden gnome would tell me that we all look alike too.
Oh yeah. Well,
Wow.
okay.
And this is where Chris gets uncomfortable.
I think it's fun. So when I was doing the research for this game, let me bring something up here if I can. I did a research on the extent to which people were interested in Christmas gnomes, because there's no point in making a game about a theme that is uninteresting to people.
Sure. Yeah.
So I went to Google Trends, which I think is such a great tool to use for investigating what are people showing an interest in. So
Oh,
let me
man.
share the screen again.
To me, that sounds like it might be a scary rabbit hole to go down.
Check this out. Now the blue, this is search trends since 2004, and blue is Christmas gnome, red is garden gnome. So garden gnome pretty flat for the past 16, 17 years. But you notice blue has been getting more interested. It gets interesting every single Christmas, duh. But look at how the blue is going up. And it's just been for a couple of years now that the amount of searches for Christmas gnomes exceeds the amount of interest for garden gnomes.
Interesting.
So it's time to go and get your
Christmas gnomes are having their day. It's time.
They totally are. They totally are.
It's like red and blue. It's like red and blue states, man. Look at it.
I gotta say that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
And look at the peaks and valleys on the Christmas gnome.
Yeah.
That data was stunning to see. The
obviously seasonal, but yeah.
Yes, it's seasonal, but then the severity increase in those searches. I guess that's insurance terms that Rob and I would use.
Yeah.
The quantity of those searches during that season probably exceeds the flat level of the garden gnome.
Yeah.
You guys are like misinterpreting the whole thing.
No, what do you think it means?
The whole fact that there's a Google research trend for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And not to go against it, but I'm just like, I didn't know they'd do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna go on that stuff and just look at some weird stuff.
Google
Man. I'm gonna look at some.
Stay out of his browser history.
I'm gonna go like, man, what's this? Yeah.
You're gonna need to bleach wipe your browser history when you're
I
done.
don't care, man. I'm gonna look up some weird stuff.
We're gonna have to bleach Comcast when you're done with it.
Exactly.
We're learning a lot on this. See, and this is, folks, this for those you aspiring designers out there, and we have you guys in our game groups. We talk to y'all.
Yeah, 'cause that's a tool. I never heard of this.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Thinking about themes and looking at Google Trend researches to see how people are interested in it or not.
It's a thing.
That probably what helped you find a publisher, being able to show the data behind the theme.
You're right.
Yeah, for sure.
Rob, we got to come up with a
it was
game.
really strong in early.
There you go.
2021.
You got a caller.
It's only gotten stronger.
Another caller coming in, Chris.
Beans and Dice podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Carlito, this is Nick Obin.
Nick Obin, how are you?
Oh, he's our own Yuletide gnome in the Tampa area.
An aspiring game designer, I will point out. He's been working behind the scenes on a little game of his own. But anyway, say hi to Chris.
Yeah, hey Chris, how's it going, man?
Hi, thank you for calling.
Yeah, happy Thursday. The Google Trends thing just put me over the top. I love it.
Oh, yeah, you love that?
The
You too?
analytic approach.
You didn't know? Did you know anything about it or no?
No.
And you know what's sad is me and Nick are both in IT, and we don't know nothing about that kind of stuff.
Well, no, I've gotten a little bit. I love the analytic approach to it. As far as verifying, like you said, that the topic is going to be of interest to anyone. And theme is huge. Theme is a big thing. I know there was
Not to Rob.
I'm part of the board game, except for Rob.
Yeah.
I'm part of the board game design lab on Facebook, and there's a bunch of board game design groups out there, right? And there's been a bunch of surveys done about ranking what's important, mechanics versus gameplay versus player count versus theme, all the big things that people judge a game by.
Sure.
And theme has become more and more enticing, especially in Kickstarter world and art. Chris, like you mentioned, art is such a big deal. Like people can look at a game and of the 7,000 or 10,000 titles a year, like Carlos pointed out, and know in the first moment they're interested or they're not. A lot of times based on art and theme before they know anything else about it. So I just think that's really great. Question I had for you, I think I missed it in the beginning, or maybe just haven't gone yet. When does Tomten hit Kickstarter?
So it's going to launch on February 1st, 2022, and it'll ship in time for Christmas of next year.
So that was my next question is, and because first of all, that's great. February, good. Because this is being recorded, you may be able to watch that ship date. Are you tracking, and to what degree have you prepped for the current shipping crisis that is affecting every Kickstarter in the last, say, 12 months or so?
Yeah, that's absolutely up to the publisher, and some of these dates may shift. So I'm just repeating what he told me. But I did ask him, I pushed him on that, and he said that there's no trouble at all, that he's completely confident that it'll arrive in time for Christmas next year, despite all of the shipping problems. And he's intentionally built a buffer into the schedule in order to accommodate that.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really good, especially, not to apply undue pressure. I'm sure you'll feel it, end of summer, early fall next year, but a Christmas themed game that misses Christmas would be a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, this is a card
you're
game,
right.
right? This is strictly a card game and a dice game, right?
No,
That was the question I was just about to ask. Tell us about the components, like production-wise.
Yeah.
What kind of components are involved in it?
So it's got cards, it's got player mats, it's got custom dice. They're going to be really, really awesome, engraved paint inside of them. It's going to have little custom wood tokens. It's got a board, it's got a box, and it's got a rule book. $39 plus shipping.
Okay.
So it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything for as far as production that's going to hold it back.
Well, I mean,
that's what
I
get
think the
feeling.
dice
Yeah.
would be rough to get done quickly, but there's no like minis.
Right. And
There's no
That's
miniatures.
what holds
No.
production back a lot.
There's no 3D minis, none of that kind of stuff. So here I got the board, for instance. It's a 6-fold board.
Okay.
Fits inside of a medium box. This is a prototype box. This is not the finished box.
All right.
but
So
it's
box size is not huge. So finding space on a
Right.
shipping container won't be as difficult. We're not talking
Right.
about like a scythe-sized box.
Sure. Yeah.
No,
or
it's got
Descent.
no, it's got a very reasonable number of cards. I think it's 54. It's got this much dice and other stuff.
Oh, so yeah.
Yeah. So production shouldn't be as difficult to keep
Or
on
player
track.
mats.
And that's what we mean by player mats. So
Okay, little.
they're cardboard, die cut player boards, right? So they're cut for showing you where to place things.
Right. I don't think this is a very risky project.
Sure.
As far as fabrication.
So
Any
yeah.
other
that sounds
follow-up
good.
questions?
Much
And
Nick?
that-
riskier ones.
Oh, no, I was going to say that, thanks for the info on the price point. That $39.99 or $40 price point is great for Kickstarters, especially in the world now where folks are almost getting used to paying twice that for a Kickstarter game. That ends up being on the lower side, which makes it seem like, it's even easier to give in to the FOMO when it's only, quote unquote, only $40. Well, yeah,
I know.
that,
It's very affordable.
Is there a fund? Have you already established the funding amount that you're going for?
So the publisher has some ideas in mind. He hasn't publicly announced it yet.
Okay. Yeah, and as far as by the 500 or by the 1,000 or whatever, because it sounds like the production won't be a problem. It's all about finding room on a ship right now, which is a lot of fun. Good deal.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
very
already
good.
talked with the manufacturer, gotten pricing and all that. And I think a lot of these things, like the price point, tie into this being hopefully a crossover game. So, really hardcore gamers, like they play a really challenging Euro game every night or every couple nights. They might be willing to pay $80 a game. But, your average grandma who has never played a medium to heavyweight Euro, or grandpa getting it as a Christmas gift for their grandkids doesn't want to shell out $80 or $90.
So yeah, that was
And they're going to be looking at the theme. They're not going to just be looking at the mechanics. They're going to want to have a friendly theme, not something really dark. They're going to want to have something that could be played solo or just 2 players, because you can't always get a large number of people around the table. And it needs to be something that feels like it's going to be fun and friendly. It's not going to be a mean thing, because, no grandparent wants to give a mean toy to their grandchildren.
You don't know my abuela.
You're right. There's one exception to every rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Your abuela gonna give you the chancla. She gonna give you the chancla.
The sandal. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask a question. So BBG has a complexity level from 0 to 5.
Well, that's one of the questions in the chat. This is Mitchell's asking that same question.
So what is the complexity level in the game?
Yeah, what would you gauge it at? Obviously, the BGG is going to be fan generated, but what do you think as far as complexity?
I think it'll come in at about a 2.1, maybe 2.2.
So
Okay,
light.
so fairly
Take
light.
it to rightish.
Yeah, family
Yes.
weight. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a little bit higher. So when you're playing, I mentioned some of these issues about how you can give indirect benefits to other people. Competitive players will make a big deal of that and try very hard not to inadvertently help other people. For the average person, they're not going to worry too much about that. They might even feel good that they're making the other people at the table feel good.
I don't care.
That's not you.
It's one of these games where there's a lot more depth if you want to get into it, but a lot of people will just, throw the dice and they'll be like, oh yeah, this looks good. There's other people, like you can do, there's things built into the game that allow you to manipulate the dice in order to reduce the randomness. And really hardcore gamers are going to really care about getting deep into that level of
No, that's
strategy
exactly
attack.
true. Because as an example, and Nick, hang on with me here. We'll wrap up with you in a second. Playing Pan Am with Robert, right? And there's a section of the board where you can get cards, and you can get them at a free cost. And everybody jumped in there and got free, including Robert. We all got something free. But Robert can't be happy with people getting free.
Oh, no, I wanted 2 is what the problem was.
Okay, but you couldn't be happy with a round where everybody got one for free.
No, I want 2.
Right, but how many did you end up with?
1.
Right.
And everybody paid for it.
And everybody got
paid for
one,
it.
but everybody paid
for it.
And I said, Robert, if you don't mess with this right here, we could all get something for free.
Well, I had a chance to get 2.
See, and that's what Chris, that's what you're pointing to when you say games with friendly mechanisms, the competitive gamers have a tough time with seeing everybody get
He's
something.
not, but that's not Rob. That's not Rob being competitive. That's just I'm looking out for me.
I want to get 2.
That's not him being competitive. That's him saying, "It's for me. I don't care about y'all."
I needed those 2 blue cards, and I was going to bid on those 2 blue cards.
Before he did that, I said, Robert, I know how this is going to end up. We will all still get one, but we're all going to have to pay.
Well, I'm going to try to get my 2.
I think it's great if the game can be played in a really friendly, light way. But then for those people who really want to go deep and try to avoid being overly friendly to the other people, that there's
just give it to
mechanisms
us
inside the game that you can kind of do that. But not everybody has to do that.
No, what if you want? We should play it.
Well, it's great because
We're gonna play it. We're gonna do that
because Pan Am did that. Pan Am does that right with that section, and that creates a moment that I'll never forget. A game moment that I'll never forget, where we could have all got something, but because of one person had to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, we got Nick on the line still. Is there anything else, Nick, you want to ask us about?
I'm just enjoying the chat. Actually, it's funny. I waited to call in. I've been chatting in the YouTube chat there for a while, but the conversation's been a lot of fun. So Chris,
good.
Great job.
Appreciate that.
Been really exciting. I will say, let it be known that Carlos was just advocating for socialism there. He just wanted everyone to get things
everybody's
got
to get something for free. Everybody pay and everybody get free. Yeah.
No, but it's I think the joke now. I mean,
Carlos is enjoying that.
It made me think of just as far as the competitive players not liking maybe that or wanting to win, right? Wanting to push. So I recently backed a game, and I think maybe a couple other folks may have checked it out. Mythwind by Brendan McCaskill. He's done a bunch of other stuff. But it's a co-op game. It's a sandbox co-op game where you are developing a world, developing a community, and quite on purpose, you don't win the game. There's no win condition. You play the game. You see how good you can develop your town. So one of you is the innkeeper, one of you is the farmer, one of you is the builder, crafter, whatever, and you're trying to optimize and see if you can unlock certain achievements, right? So like if you harvest a certain amount of stuff, it's better, and you do kind of get a quote unquote better score after having played through. It's kind of like a campaign that you play through over the years or whatever it is of the community. But at no time, as far as I remember from the campaign, at no time can you lose the game. Like there is no there's no famine where you all just die.
Garbage.
Kind of
Absolute garbage. Waste of time.
I knew Rob was gonna hit. I was
Waste
waiting for it. I
of
was
time.
he's like, I'm gonna be polite. I'm gonna be polite. Let Nick finish a sentence. Garbage.
Anyway.
Hey, Chris, we're looking. You
Well,
can't
yeah,
see.
so-
Chris
so
can't
maybe-
see it, but
maybe-
we're looking at the artwork. And Chris, I think if you pull it up, Mythwind, you might be interested in the style of this game. I'm getting some feels here that I think you might like. But good call there, Nick, on Mythwind.
Yeah, it's been fun. Anyways,
Oh yeah, I saw
very
this one.
good.
It is beautiful art. Yeah, I looked at this one.
Yeah, it's a pretty looking game. Yeah.
It is a really good one. It's got some really cool features in it also. The persistent world thing caught my eye. That's actually really cool.
Yep, very good. All right, well, that's all I have for you. I'm looking forward to. Real quick, Chris, where can we find I know there's the board game geek page, but is there a landing page on Kickstarter yet that we can subscribe, an email list? I know that's a big deal. You want to get whatever it is.
Yeah,
you want to
there
get
is.
10 times as many emails as you think you're going to need or something.
Yeah, the Kickstarter page is up. I'll just quickly share my screen so that people who
Can
are
we just get a
interested-
link and just put in the chat?
Yeah, we'll get the link from Chris, and I'll make sure to put it in the chat too.
I don't have the chat going on my screen because I don't want to have crosstalk. So
Oh no, that's fine.
you can stick it in the chat though.
I see the
Yeah, thank you
image.
so much for your interest, Nick. It's really exciting to see other people excited. I love that. Thank you.
Rock and roll, man. You guys have a great night.
Appreciate it. Thanks for calling, Nick. Have a good night.
Yep. Bye-bye.
And that was the last call of the day. That was the last phone call.
I don't think we're ever gonna get Rob to play that game.
That gets us to the
No. Nobody wins. What are you talking about? That's not a game.
What am
That's-
I doing?
That's an
This-
activity.
This
that's
is
that's not a game.
I don't play for the experience. I play to see who's in first.
It's not a game unless somebody wins. That's garbage.
Well, we had a lot of good discussion on this. Chris, what we normally do when we wrap up the show is we run through the chat to see if there's any comments that we missed, just to kind
see if there
of
was
touch back
any
on
questions
them.
real quick that we can knock
So
out.
Chris can join us for this one, and then because there might be questions for Chris in here.
Oh
Let's
yeah, for
see.
sure. Yeah.
you and Mitchell, man. You and Mitchell are like eye to eye, Rob.
We started off with
Oh, yeah, for sure.
issues. Okay, so issues. We fixed that with the tech. We're there. Mitch Edmund is one of our viewers from Sweden.
Sweden, I believe. Yeah.
From Sweden. And Mitch says, I got to point this out. Mitch says, hey, we should get Edmund in here. How's Scandinavia?
Oh, okay.
And
Edmund
I'm
wasn't
like,
in tonight.
and my comment back was, hey, Mitch, by the way, he's from Sweden. And that's when Mitch reminds me that Sweden is in Scandinavia.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
My geography is not strong, is what I'm learning here.
Aren't you two college graduates?
I'm a late college graduate.
I'm not even that.
I don't always teach everything at college, though.
Yeah.
They don't remember nothing. Steel trap my butt.
What else is in the chat there?
Let's
Anything
see
interesting?
here. Nick talks about the flags at Dice Tower Retreat, playing games with strangers, how much he had fun looking for the flags for people looking for games or looking for teachers of games.
Yeah, they've got the was it green flags and was it yellow flags?
Yellow flags this time.
Yeah, one for if you're looking for players and one if you're looking for teachers.
3 games there.
Yeah.
That I didn't even play. I just
You
sat-
took your own advice. You went and played with others.
We should have done that a little more. We'll do that next time.
Next time.
Yeah, next time.
Wayne Kruger says, I hope I can get to the retreat next year. Dice Tower East is tough being in July for getting out of work.
Yeah, for some people. Yeah.
It is. That 4th of July weekend is usually when it is.
That's why it's nice that they're able to do different events, different times of the
break,
year, so
baby.
that they can break it up a little.
Oh, I thought it, but didn't say it. But Nick Oben says, William makes a great Vanna White. And I don't know if Chris got to see the perspective.
I saw him pointing to your screen when we were bringing up stuff. So
It was awesome.
Can I get a vowel?
I was doing the whole thing. Too. When you see it, when you replay it, he'll see it.
Yeah, it's funny. Let's see here. She is very popular in Sweden. She is Swedish. That's what Edmund says.
Oh,
Vanna
Edmund
White
was
is
in there.
Swedish.
Okay, very cool.
Didn't know that.
yeah.
Nick's like, don't pump up. Or Mitchell saying, telling Nick to not pump up William's ego. There we go.
Too late.
Yeah. Let's see here. Will, you couldn't have waited for the close up to end before taking such a big gulp. You were, I guess, drinking.
Oh yeah, I noticed that he was.
I don't care,
kicking it
man.
back all over Chris's shot there. Yeah.
Mitchell says, when we say gnomes, are these elves? Okay, William, you brought that one up, and
Yeah.
we got the answer for that one, the difference between gnomes and Christmas elms. William and Frenchie, Mark Stang says that he will be at Dice Tower West, and he hopes to see you there. So William and Frenchie, if you're
Awesome.
still listening, Dice Tower West, Mark Stang will be out there.
I will not be playing Blood Bowl.
We could have guessed that.
Let's see. Edmund says, Mitch asked Edmund to chime in on the topic that Chris has because he's from Sweden. Right? He's a viewer. What is it, like 3 a.m. over there now?
Something
And
like that. Yeah.
he's always watching every week at like 3 a.m.
About 3 a.m. over there. Yeah.
But Edmund says,
That's loyal.
Edmund replies back with, I am not so knowledgeable as the game designer talking about them. So mad props.
Yeah.
You got a viewer from Sweden.
From one of your Nordic friends. Yeah.
Your knowledge base on this is stronger than his.
Well, thank you. That's quite a compliment.
I agree. But Edmund says she is a big name in Sweden. I think we're going back to Vanna White on that one.
No. That's
it's not Vanna White. He's talking about the artist.
The artist.
The artist.
Nystrom.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Vanna White's us, man. That's us. That's American.
Mitchell says, Go ahead.
I have trouble mistaking you guys. All of you look so much like Vanna White.
Oh, yeah,
I
of course.
love
Yeah.
Chris. He's in. It's official.
Yeah.
He gets my humor. Mitchell says, what is Blood Bowl? And then maybe Carlos will finally shut up about Blood Bowl since he lost.
Doubt it, but maybe. We can hope.
Yeah, we can hope was the following comment.
Oh, okay.
That was for me.
Nice.
We get confirmation in here. It is the Travelocity roaming gnome that I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That's my gnome. Let's see here. Ryan says, I will say that I'm a history major and have been somewhat active in the Viking reenactment group. So that was Ryan who ended up calling in. Before he called in, that was his comment. He's a history major with reenactment in the Viking world. So I guess you really did touch a good
nerve there. Yeah.
Well, not a nerve, but a sweet spot.
Very knowledgeable, very knowledgeable person.
Yeah, that was that was a cool call to get in. Thanks, Ryan, for calling in on that one. Let's see here. Nick says, not gonna lie, I want to back this game even more now because Chris used Google Trends to verify the interest was there.
There you go.
So geek-tastic.
There you go.
And that was before he called in.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Wayne Kruger says, where'd he go? There he is. Wayne Kruger says, there are stats and trends for everything. I'm with Nick. Makes me interested more in the game knowing that the research that has gone into it. So seeing what you've done, Chris, is, I think, important. How do you share that, right? Like, how do you share that with the world as you move through that Kickstarter to show that you're not just jumping on some IP or some theme without doing that research? That might be something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, people see it themselves. Not everybody responds well to data, but you can just see it in the impressions that people experience going through the mall. It's insane how many gnomes there are these days. I was walking past a Hallmark store like a few months ago, it was around Halloween, and there were gnomes for Halloween now. And I'm like, wow, everybody's jumping on this gnome bandwagon.
Hadn't seen that yet. Yeah, that's crazy.
I may have not even noticed.
Yeah, just because their gnomes are everywhere.
See, now I feel like I'm going to be on the lookout for
gnomes. Anytime you see a gnome.
Hey, Carl's like, gnome! Right. Well, I don't know. For Halloween, we watched the Jack Black movie, the Scary Stories. I don't know if y'all, if you remember the books from back then.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
The Goosebumps?
Goosebumps. Yeah. That's the one. Goosebumps.
Mm-hmm.
And Goosebumps Part 2 had an attack of gnomes, like all these yard gnomes were attacking.
Yeah.
So that's all I can think of when you say Halloween and gnomes. Anyway, back on task.
Yep.
Mitchell says, I assume this is a family weight game if you're trying to cash in on the whole seasonal aspect.
Sure.
And I think you answered that before we even asked it when you talked about the rating being about a 2 on BGG, and Mitchell's big on BGG. So that gives you about the family weight. But
kids have played this with their parents. I haven't ever had kids play it without parents helping them. But I've certainly seen children playing this game, about 13 or so.
Okay.
We got Diego asking, saying that he's learning a lot, and then Mitchell chimes in with, are there any promos? But I think you talked about that, Chris, earlier. We said the stretch is going to be more about reducing the shipping costs and not about adding promos.
Yeah, we weren't on camera when we had that discussion, so I'll just recap. The publisher is telling me right now that he doesn't plan to have the usual stretch goals where you get more stuff if we get more people sign up. Instead, what he's going to do is use that additional resource to reduce the cost of shipping. So he kind of shares my feeling on this. Like, you go shopping for a thing and you look at the price tag in it online and it's like, oh, that's a really good price. I'm going to go and get that. And then you got hit with this expensive shipping surcharge. Yeah. So he's hoping to sort of take that sting away, and the price you see is as close as possible to the price that you pay. And that'll depend on getting a lot of people to go and back the Kickstarter. So
Yeah, the
share
more
with all of your
support you
friends.
can get from the people, the more the publisher can eat the shipping costs.
Yeah, use that resource in a different way instead of making the game bigger and bloating it and adding little.
Just get it to you
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah, makes sense.
I like the idea of that.
Also, he wants to make the game absolutely like visually and tactile stunning
Sure.
for the price that he's advertising it. So I actually think it's going to be a fun game to hold in your hand and put on your table.
Yeah, that art's going to be big, I would imagine, and how that comes across, and I'm sure that'll go through some iterations as you finalize things. But with the glossy versus matte finishes and things like that, those will be with that art. Those will be a lot of big decisions, I think, to make down the stretch, probably.
Yeah, the linen finish on the cards.
Yeah.
That could be, those kind of decisions. What finish to have on the paper product. How will that help bring out that artwork?
Right.
Especially knowing where the artwork started. Well, you look at that research to see what medium is that best going to be on. Glossy versus matte, linen versus flat. So a lot of decisions coming your way.
Yeah.
We got Mitchell chiming in. Rob is my kind of gamer.
Hey.
And then the big question mark, Carlos is a socialist.
Oh.
And,
It's changing.
He agrees with Rob that game is hot garbage. It's just no winner.
Pan Am.
No.
The wind game.
Wind game.
Oh, the win game.
Yeah,
It doesn't have a
Myth
winner.
Wind. Yeah, no winner. That's no bueno.
Yeah, speaking about
Well, all the Tomten modes have winners. There's the
There we
solo
go.
mode, the
That's what I'm
co-op
talking
mode,
about.
the competitive mode, and the
There's
team
a
mode.
king
So we got all
gnome
of
on there.
We've got all the different modes: solo, co-op, competitive, and team. But all of them have winners or losers.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let's make sure there's not a tiebreaker with a shared win. Like that's one of my least favorite
There's
shared
got to
win.
be the umpteenth.
You don't have to redo everything now, but just check.
Just a
I don't
request.
think we do that. I don't think we do that.
Woo.
Okay.
Ron Frazier out of Georgia.
Oh yeah, Ron. Okay.
First time caller last week.
from Dice
week?
Tower. Yeah.
Yep. He says, good conversation, gentlemen. And then he says, Chris's game sounds right up my alley. Looking forward to checking it out.
Sweet.
That's awesome. Oh, there's Chris chiming in the chat. Thanking everyone for being there. Thanks for chiming in the chat,
Very
Chris.
cool, Chris. Yeah.
I got it on the screen.
Edmund says, does not matter that you are getting the countries mixed up, but maybe you should play Ticket to Ride Nordic countries.
There you go.
We will put that on the list.
I own that one.
You
so
own it?
Yes, I own that one.
Well,
Yeah, I got
we're going to make that happen.
We'll make that happen.
I will learn more.
2-3 player only, I believe, on that map, but it's nice and tight, and so it's very competitive. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And then finally, Mitchell asks, will there be a retail release? Is that a part of the plan?
I'm not aware of any such plan. And yeah, you're right. Scandinavia is different than Nordic. So sorry about that, especially to everybody who lives in that cold part of the world.
Yeah.
Mad props to y'all because I couldn't do it. My Hershey Kisses couldn't take it.
No. That's another
that
topic.
note,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Time to end the show.
Well, Chris, it has been so much fun having you on.
Been a pleasure. Yeah.
We had such a good time meeting you in St. Louis, gaming with you as a person, watching you just take our money in brass Birmingham.
We're both going to brush up on our brass skills, so next time we play, watch out.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that you guys taught me how to play that game.
Thoroughly, unfortunately.
I
yeah.
love it.
Too well.
Great
He says he doesn't play competitive take that games, and he whooped your all's
Listen,
butt
bro.
in a
Yeah.
game where you do that.
I haven't verbalized it, but I still feel it. So I'm gonna let it out. It's
It
gonna be real
hurts, yeah.
cathartic here, okay?
Yeah.
We started off in this back room with this. We're just gonna learn the game. So Carlos and
Dark
Rob are
back
gonna
room.
teach Ira
So you got
and
hustled.
Chris.
You got
Yeah.
hustled.
Right?
You got
So,
hustled.
so I'm just kind of taking
You got hustled.
turns, kind of learn. It's a learning game. But then it started getting real competitive, and I'm like, these guys are making moves. So then I'm like, well, how do I catch back up? And I couldn't figure it out. Like that was the worst loss I've ever had in brass Birmingham.
You did pretty bad in that one. Yeah.
Because I was like, I was on my heels, like, okay, I'm good. This is all fine. We're just having fun.
For a little game.
Right? And all of a sudden, I'm like leaning forward, then I'm on my toes, like, oh, I gotta get this going.
Chris started pulling away, and then Ira and I were scrambling to stay close behind him, and then Carlos just kind of faded away.
And we finished it. We shut that place
Oh,
down.
we did. We were pushed it right up to the last
I think
minute.
we got kicked out by the pieces
Yeah,
people.
I think so. Yeah.
Jamie had left. Everyone had left. The whole place was shut down. It was like 5 of us sitting outside waiting for Uber rides.
Yeah.
In downtown St. Louis. So it was a great way to end the evening.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
fun.
Well, don't make
I
it the
really
last
enjoyed
time.
being with you guys. Thank you very much. I enjoyed meeting with you there, and I enjoyed getting to be on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Well, hopefully we'll get to see you again. I don't any plans to attend future Stonemaier Design Days?
It's possible.
Possible?
It kind of depends on how some collaborations work out, and it also depends on how well Tomten sells, because
Sure.
out of the Tomten royalties, I'll be able to pay for airfare to come and meet with wonderful people.
Awesome.
You can do like me and drive it.
Yeah, don't do
No,
that.
don't do that. Do not do that.
We're not going to do that.
No.
Good idea. Yeah.
Well, let's say goodbye to the folks, and then we'll give our final goodbyes to Chris off show. Thank you, folks, for sticking around and watching. Great conversation today. Check them out. Tomten, it's on BGG. The links are in the description of this chat, and we will also post up the links to the Kickstarter when I'm done with this show and get it edited back up. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And I'm William.
Go ahead,
I'm
Chris.
Chris. Thank you, guys.
That's Chris. We're the Beans and Dice Podcast. We're a podcast about
How we game.
Thanks for watching. We will catch you all next week.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.